Vinci and Bliss regarding our budget, our 2026 municipal budget that we worked so hard on. We have the approval of minutes. We have second hearing for ordinance 26-11, and that is a perfunctory ordinance to exceed the municipal budget cap bank that we do every year. Then we have introduction of ordinances, which is part 2 of our capital. We split it up because we had some things that we had to get done earlier in the year. So this is part 2 of our capital. And we have resolutions. The application for the Bergen County Open Space Grant we're applying for, and that is for part 2 of the tennis courts. And let's see, then we have the budget. So we're going to read the budget today by title, and then we're going to actually technically adopt it at the next meeting. The consent agenda, we have our Victory Town resolution. So as part of the 250-year anniversary, we'll read that, and it's going to be naming Allendale as a Victory Town because it was part of the Washington Rochambeau route during the Civil War. Revolutionary War, thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you. So, and then we also are going to be purchasing a truck through a purchasing co-op. All right, so with that, I'd like to open the meeting up to the public on any agenda items. Not seeing anybody. Do we want to do the presentation now? That sound good? All right, let's have it. Hello.
Thank you for having me tonight. Pleasure to be here. Just a brief summary of your budget and really the budget process. So what happened at last month's meeting, you introduced your budget, so that basically sets the whole budget process in motion. Now tonight you'll have your public hearing on the budget with this presentation, and then at the next meeting you'll formally adopt the budget. Normally you would adopt at the same night as the hearing, but unfortunately you need the state approval to adopt the budget. They're significantly behind in reviewing all the budgets this year, so we haven't received that approval. We see that being approved shortly, so it should not be forward into action. Globally on the budget, before we get into any detail, it's a really great budget. I'm sure you read the papers, you see what's going on out there. It's a really difficult environment for really all governments this year. A lot of school districts, a number of municipalities, and almost all of the budgets we see are having difficulty meeting the caps. You're spending, you have a tax levy cap, having difficulty meeting those caps, and also once they meet the caps, there's just a significant increase in the taxes. And it's pretty much the same story everywhere. It's really due to health insurance, right? Everybody's seeing around anywhere from a 30 to a 35% increase in health insurance. That being one of the biggest, line items in municipal budgets. It's really becoming difficult to, manage the taxes to a relatively small level with that kind of increase. That being said, you were able to take that about a 30-some-odd% increase in your health benefits, and you were actually able to lower the taxes that you're going to collect during 2026 and 2025 purely from your municipal budget. Okay, so really, if you look dollar for dollar from one year to the next, you're actually levying about $9,500 less than you did in 2025. And that's really an extraordinary feat in this environment. To see that 30% increase in health benefits and still be able to manage that tax levy is really a fantastic thing. It's really a perfect storm this year with your health insurance. You had the 2 storms that came in January, February. So really, these expenses that are hopefully temporary and one time in nature. But maybe you were able to kind of keep those taxes really at a lower level than very positive budgets. So if you want to go through, we have the presentation that we handed out. So really starting on page 2, that gives you, we start on the revenue side to show you where your revenues are coming from in the budget. So if you see on the bottom, you'll see the total. Your total budget is around 18.5 million. That's up from 17.4 million. So the total budget is up $5 million from last year. And really, like I said, the 2 drivers of that, just from a spending standpoint, was your health insurance and your schools. How you were able to mitigate that is really the first line there, surplus anticipated $900,000. So the borough's in a very healthy position financially from a surplus standpoint. So you were able to use a little bit more than you had in the past to offset those increases in spending. That being said, even though you're using more, you're still leaving yourself with a very healthy surplus after you utilize it. And the reason that is because from last year to this year, you increased your surplus from where you had in the previous year. Basically, what that means is as your revenues came in higher than what you anticipated. You didn't spend up to the full amount of your budget, so that money goes back into the surplus. So when you kind of shake everything out, you ended up at a higher level of surplus at the end of 25 than you did in 24. So that allows you when you move into next year to use a little more surplus, still maintaining a relatively same level that you had last year, but to offset those costs that increased on the spending. Really, all your other revenues were pretty level. You have some an increase in municipal revenue. That was really the driver of your interest, bank interest, UCC fees. They were increased from last year, and that kind of offset the next line down there, which is a decrease of 267. That was just some litigation settlements that came in 1 year versus the next. It was a little less than last year, but again, that was offset with some other revenues. So all in all, your revenues are, from a total standpoint, really pretty equal from the previous year, just using a little bit more of that surplus than that as the spending. On the next page, page 3, just shows you where the just in a graph format, where a chart format, where the money's coming from. So as you can see, about 65% of the total revenues are coming from tax, and that's certainly not uncommon in New Jersey municipal government, whereas state and local revenues really account for a small portion of the total. And you can see the surplus you're using, about 12% of total budget is funded by surplus. Again, certainly not uncommon in New Jersey municipalities. 10 to 20% of surplus being utilized in funding. Page 4, another very positive. This is kind of mentioned earlier. You have 2 caps that you deal with. This is the tax levy cap, so you're limited how much you can actually increase taxes every year. And obviously, like I said, you actually increased taxes from previous years, so you have no problems with the cap. You're about $1 million under the state mandated cap. So you would actually be able to raise your taxes another $1 million and still be within the state mandated cap, obviously, increase in taxes. And the good news there is that $1 million does carry forward for 2 years. So, when you're below what the state allows you to tax, you can actually bank that money or that excess and use that if needed in the next 2 years. So when you go to next year, if there's some kind of real significant problem and you can't meet the tax levy cap, you actually have money from the previous year that you can use.
What is the process? So some of these other municipalities are struggling with healthcare, et cetera, and they have to go over the cap. Is there a process with the state? They have to get approval, or is it just an increase?
You really can't. You would have to apply to local finance board, and that would state what they call a waiver, so we can increase that. But that comes with a lot of scrutiny in your budget, and you have to really apply. You can't, if there's no other reason, no other way to get under that cap. So there is a mechanism, but it's really not the best way to go about it. So you have to, like I said, go down with the clients who are applied for the waiver, explain why you can't do that, your historical nature, how you got to this point, and really they give you a recommendation how to move forward. They come, but that's really how they're not giving you that one. The waiver's really one time. They give you the waiver this year, then they want to make sure, hey, they want you to see back here next year for the waiver, so they're not bothering you. They get that. So it's not a good position to be in, but I think there's going to be some styles that I don't want to happen. Page 5, this now turns to the spending side of the budget, just shows you where you're increasing line spending. And like I said, you can see in total, again, total budget's up about $1 million. And you can really see that about 660,000 directly from insurance. That was about a 29% increase, so that's really a driver of the increase. The rest of it is really, public safety, your public works, just in all the increases. Percentage-wise, public works is up, obviously, percentage-wise, a little bigger than normal, that's for the because of storm. So you have an increase in a civil budget this year, so from the public works end, you see that 20% increase. That's not really a yearly problem, since most of that is one time. Storm.
And for state statute, the library contribution is up.
Correct, yeah, that's so that's statement rate, that's very solid. Such values, statement number here, that's compliant. And page 6, the chart just deals with the spending side, we show it from a percentage standpoint, and then the charge standpoint, that's when it goes, you can see it's kind of, it's going to be distributed throughout, obviously, public safety, like, public works, insurance, regular insurance, solid waste. I think if you look in past years, I mean, the percentages stay pretty similar every year, so it's not like 1 year it's a big increase in one, or big increase in the other. That's when you look at the set of the total budget, it's Page 7 deals with the appropriations cap, so this is the second cap that you have to deal with on how much you can actually it's the spending side of your budget. This one is a little bit tighter, where you're still under the cap, about $300,000, $312,000 into the cap. Also, because what it's really this the budget is split into two sections. It's your appropriation within the cap, and then you have another appropriation outside the cap. But a lot of the bigger numbers fall outside the cap. Your debt service, your capital loans, those all fall outside the cap. So this just deals with inside the thing. What they did do, the state this year, they did allow you to take some of the health benefit increases a little bit outside the cap. So that really helps some municipalities meet this cap.
Oh, is that right?
Whereas even though, your benefits might be going up 30%, your spending is only allowed to go up 4%. How it's given. So they allow you anything over that 4% that take that piece of the appropriation with that outside. So it still has to be raised in taxes, but from the spending standpoint, they kind of say more, but they move that anything over 4% outside to help you with that. That's why there's the town space to meet that cap, otherwise it's a 30% increase. That was the good. And page 8 just gives you a history of year over year on the tax rate. Okay, so you can see from your municipal standpoint, you'll see that the tax rate actually decreased from the previous year. So the municipal portion of it, your tax rate is about 43 cents, versus 48 cents from last year. So that's an increase in the actual overall tax rate. The library stayed pretty much the same. County school, those are estimates. All of those finals go in. So, but you can see the increase in the overall tax. Page 9 just shows you, the percentage of the tax dollars and where they go from a total standpoint. So of the total tax bill, you see the municipal portion is around 25 cents per dollar. School is around 64 cents, and the county is about 6 cents. So the school obviously gets a bigger portion of the tax. Last page really shows you the impact. So when you look at the increase on the average home, this year you're at about $38 on the average. The reason that being is even though you're collecting less tax money, as you do these reassessments and the assessed value changes of the town, the average home changes. So that we calculate this average solely based on what the average value of that is. So the average home in 2026 is calculated about $991,000 versus 2025, which is $882,000. So even though you see a decrease in the actual money you're collecting, it's the shift in the assessed value. So as that value goes up, it's, if the homeowner is actually on the average, your house is worth $991 this year and it was worth $882 last year, you're going to see a $38 increase. Your value stayed the same as it did the previous year, you're going to see a decrease. That's kind of how it shapes.
Yeah, so this year, our collective valuations went up almost 10%. In the
Yes.
past years, there have been about 5%. So that's a really, really big jump. And what we try to tell people that these valuations of revenue units are not really, they're not technically linear. Taxes are going to be raised. And if you look at the history, 60% of the homes either have a zero decrease or a zero increase, or a decrease, or an increase less than $100. So I think that's just really important to point out. And then this $38, it's not like everybody's gonna get, it's not a blanket $38 per household. Some will get none, some might get a little bit more. So I think that's important to point out as well.
Depending on how their valuation.
Yeah, and what, right, so the average was 10, but if yours was say 15, then.
Yeah, I mean, rules don't necessarily say, look, at my assessment, if your assessed value didn't change at all, if your individual assessed value would change, you'll pay less in taxes this year than you did last year. If your assessed value goes up by more than the average, you're gonna pay more. If you stay right on the average, you're gonna be able to. So
It's hard for people to understand that.
Taxes are lower, but it's just
Yeah.
who's paying it versus. all in all, just, from what we're seeing out there, this is a really great budget. You guys are in a great place as far as this budget. And I think, from a fund balance standpoint, you have, you're in a very healthy financial position moving forward, so we were able to mitigate these increases this year. I still think, you didn't do anything that's gonna really negatively impact the future years. So if there happens to be increases next year, your fund balance is still in a good position to, hopefully to mitigate those in the future increases.
And the interesting part too is all of these increases are completely out of our control. Healthcare, the sewer, you have to have sewer, obviously. So, and the library, it's just state, which is also a mandated cost.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at the detail, look at broken out between the costs you control.
Yeah.
In Borough Hall versus the stuff that you're making pay, your increases there are probably those, percentage, but I'd say it's a very small.
Yes, definitely.
Any questions? I'm happy to.
Does anybody have any questions? So I think, part of it too, like we always say that we go out for every single grant that's out there, and we do. And, some of the grants, not necessarily this year, but we had a big grant, I think it was about 100 and something for the concession stand. We had 750 the year before for the community center. And of course, Veolia wiped out our debt, so we don't have all this debt service now that we could potentially have. So that's kind of a big part of it. And then we try to think outside the box all the time. Cell tower is a perfect example of that we're getting revenue from that. All of that just makes a difference. It's all collectively, it makes a big difference. So I just really want to thank the finance team, especially Allison, for, the work that we did with this and going back and forth and trying to figure it out and make the least impact for our residents as we could, because we know everybody's kind of hurting right now with the cost of everything going up. So we had the surplus, so we're able to use it, and that's what it's there for.
No, all in all, I think it was it's a good budget. We are in a good place, the health benefits. We did what we could do to save money where we could. It definitely did not take a huge impact. The surplus was definitely a savings to help offset that. The increases in the cell tower revenues, even though we implemented that last year, it still increased this year. We did have an increase in a couple of pilots, which was, I want to say, at least $100,000 on one of them, which that also helped on the revenue side offset the taxes. So overall, I think we're in a good financial position. Didn't cut ourselves short anywhere, didn't have to really play any tricks to stay within any caps. And so thank you.
And, speaking of the healthcare too, we knew ahead of time that
We
it's
did.
healthcare. We knew last year we had heard rumors, and I actually met with Congressman Gottheimer to try to get some idea of what percentage he thought it was going to go up. And he just said definitely put some extra money away. So we were prepared for it. Because it kind of blows my mind a little bit, even all the schools, what they're closing down and all because they're healthcare. It can't just be the one thing. So maybe that was what put them over the edge, but they couldn't have been financially stable. And also, I just want to bring your attention to our handy dandy budget newsletter that we worked so hard on. And we revamped it a lot from last year based on feedback from the residents and trying to make it as simple as possible for everybody. So these went out to everybody in the borough, and we have extra copies here for anybody in the audience who would like it. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
You don't have to stay. All righty. So next we have minutes. I'd like to approve minutes, April 9th. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second, please. Roll call. That's it.
Councilman O'Connell,
Abstain.
Councilman O'Toole, Councilwoman Holman,
Yes.
Councilman Delawitzio,
Abstain.
Councilman Yakarino.
Yes.
Next, we have public hearing and second reading on ordinance 26-11. Read that, got it?
The following ordinance published herewith was first read by title only on March 26, 2026, and posted on the bulletin board of the lobby of the municipal building and borough website. Ordinance 26-11, calendar year 2026 ordinance to exceed the municipal budget, appropriation limits, and to establish a cap bank NJSA 40A 4-44.14.
I'd like to open the meeting up to the public for any comments on ordinance 2611 for the public hearing. Not seeing anybody. Do I have a motion to approve ordinance 2611? So moved. Holman, second, please.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman O'Connell,
Yes.
Councilman O'Toole,
Yes.
Councilwoman Homan,
Yes.
Councilman Delavatio,
Yes.
Councilman Yakarino.
Yes.
Ready. Next, I had introduction of ordinance 26-12. This is our capital ordinance that we have, and as I mentioned before, it's part 2. So we have to replace the vehicle fueling station at the DPW. We're purchasing a leaf vacuum. We have money in here for the grant for the tennis courts and some sidewalk improvements in town, just to name a few of them. Do I have a motion to approve ordinance 26-12?
I have to read it first.
And can you please read it?
Yes. Ordinance 26-12, capital ordinance of the Borough of Allendale in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, authorizing various public improvements and acquisitions in, by, and for the borough, appropriating therefore the sum of $1,500,000 and providing that such sum so appropriated shall be raised from the borough's capital improvement fund and from a state grant.
Do I have a motion? Second, please.
Councilman O'Connell,
Yes.
Councilman O'Toole.
Yes.
Councilwoman Homan,
Yes.
Councilman Delavatio,
Yes.
Councilman Yakarino.
Yes.
Okay, motion passed. Ordinance 2612 has been introduced upon first reading and will be posted on the Borough website on April 24th, 2026, and will be taken up for further consideration and final passage at the meeting of the Mayor and Council on May 7th, 2026 at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter.
Okay, so next we have 2 resolutions regarding the open space grant for 2026 Bergen County Open Space for Crestwood Park improvements, tennis court rehabilitation. Is there any public comments on this application? Not seeing anybody? Next, we have resolution 128, which is a resolution authorizing us to submit this grant. Do I have a motion?
Yes, Holman, and I just want to thank you for all the work and interest that you put forward to get us these grants to.
Thank you.
Yes, and thank you.
Second, please.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman O'Connell,
Yes.
Councilman O'Toole,
Yes.
Councilwoman Homan,
Yes,
Councilman Delavatio,
Yes.
Councilman Yakarino.
Yes.
Our next 2 resolutions are regarding the local budget, which we explained earlier. Resolution 26-129 is the authorization for the municipal budget to be read, and then we have public comment. And then 26-130 is a resolution to continue this public hearing at the next meeting. So resolution 26-129, authorization to adopt by title only. Do I have a motion? So moved. Second, please.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman O'Connell,
Yes.
Councilman O'Toole,
Yes.
Councilwoman Homan,
yes,
Councilman Delavatio,
Yes.
Councilman Yakarino.
Yes.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment on the adoption of the local municipal budget based on the presentation and everything you just heard? Okay, next we have resolution 26-130. A resolution just to continue this public hearing to the next meeting. Do I have a motion?
so moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Councilman O'Connell,
Yes.
Councilman O'Toole,
Yes.
Councilwoman Homan,
Yes,
Councilman Delavatio,
Yes.
Councilman Yakarino.
Yes.
All right, so next we have the consent agenda, but before we approve it, I just want to read real quickly the resolution of the borough authorizing participation in the Washington Rochambeau Revolutionary Route, and considering us as a victory town. Whereas the Washington Rochambeau Revolutionary Route, it's called W3R, is a 600-mile natural historic trail designated by Congress to commemorate the historic 1781 march of the American and French Allied armies to the siege of Yorktown. And whereas the borough of Allendale served as a vital corridor for the Continental Army's right column during this campaign, witnessing the movement of troops and supplies that were essential in achieving America's independence. And whereas the historic John Fowle House stands as a local landmark of the Revolutionary era, representing Allendale's significant contributions to the Patriot cause. And whereas the National Washington Rochambeau Revolutionary Route Association has established the Victory Town program to recognize municipalities that provided passage, hospitality, or support to the Allied armies. No, Allendale would absolutely do that. We would be very excited to them coming to our town. And whereas the participation in this Victory Towns program would provide the borough of Allendale with national recognition, educational resources, and heritage tourism opportunities as part of the upcoming America 250 semi-quincentennial celebrations. And whereas the mayor and council desire to formally acknowledge Allendale's historical significance and join this national network of historic communities. And I'd like to thank Councilwoman Homan for bringing this to our attention at one of the local Fowl House meetings. And I understand this opens us up actually to more potential grants for, that's a.
Oh, Dottie, thank you for your work on actually getting it
Yeah,
done. I was the
No
connector
problem.
for the worker, so thank you.
My pleasure.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Second, please.
Moment.
O'Toole, Holman.
Thank you. Councilman O'Connell,
Yes.
Councilman O'Toole,
Yes.
Councilwoman Homan,
Yes.
Councilman Delavatio,
Yes.
Councilman Yakarino.
I'll abstain, 26-135, yes on the balance, please.
Great, Councilman O'Toole, council report.
Public safety committee. Back last week. Past couple of weeks.
Yes, first of all, thank all. Thank you. What is water and sewer? They self. Settlements. Process. Say that I do. Working on. And then as far as sewer, also busy challenges. Canadians and South work.
And reading all those contracts.
There's something wrong with me and I'm getting interested in that.
Thank you very much, and also definitely. I have a very.
Thank you, Mayor.
PPW committee, was supposed to be last week, but, moments that we did not meet, put in conversations, with the superintendent, fields have been completed, all the work on the fields have been completed. Crestwood prep is ongoing for opening of Crestwood Lake, currently filling it up with water to fix this thing, and we can water with Crestwood Lake. Yes. I do have some happy news, the beginning of this month, the sidewalk on West Maple was finally completed, so kids don't have to walk in the street
Yeah,
anymore.
take a picture of that one.
Yeah,
It's been a long
yeah,
time
we've
coming.
already gotten several texts from residents on West Maple, that they're really happy.
Oh,
about
that's
that.
great. I know that is
Thank
great.
God I got to see it before I'm dead. That's great. And then,
That's a positive.
didn't look like I was gonna see it, so, it finally came to fruition, so thank God. Crescent Avenue, Walter, you had mentioned to me before the meeting about a depressed asphalt situation. I did reach out to our superintendent for the meeting. He did reach out to Veolia, so they are gonna investigate and repair as needed. I was gonna do that. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Well, let's see, Councilman Yakarino?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I'll echo some of Councilman Delavatio's sentiments regarding the fields in year 2 of our ongoing field maintenance pledge, if you will, to the community and the Allendale Recreation Commission. The fields do really look at in tip-top shape, and I think over the last year or two, certainly as folks are familiar with in years past. So we're really happy with that, and the feedback from ARC has been very positive, and as such, you, myself, the chief, and Andy attended the ARC meeting this past Tuesday. A very productive meeting. Again, the commentary was very positive. Discussed some ongoing initiatives, the field box sheds that we'll be installing up in Field 6, potential locations for the new batting cages, and among other things, and also looking forward to opening day, which will be on Saturday, May 9th. We also had a facilities meeting earlier this week where we discussed Crestwood Lake dates as far as opening, closing, the band nights, which we previously discussed, as well as the new concessionaire. So we'll be reaching out to them as they've already done with us, make sure that we're ready to go. We'll be doing a pre-inspection, if you will, of the concession stand as before the new vendor gets in. Also just kind of set a baseline as far as if anything needs to be cleaned up and things of that nature. We'll leave it at there for now. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Girl Scouts are almost done with their birdhouses, so we'll be hanging them up hopefully in the near future. And that's about all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Administrative reports. Ms. Altsman?
I'd just like to thank Mayor Wilsinski and the Finance Committee for another successful budget with a near flat increase to both the tax rate and tax levy. All year, we worked very diligently to prepare for the budget, and the effort shows when it comes time to finalize the numbers. The process is very smooth and efficient, and I couldn't do what I do without such a great team. I also hope that everybody had the opportunity to review our handy dandy budget newsletter and found it helpful. If you haven't yet, it is available on our website. So by all means, I suggest everybody take a look at it. In regards to the ordinance that's being introduced tonight, I would just like to point out that we were fortunate enough that we will not be increasing our debt with the ordinance, and it's either being fully funded by grants or with money that we've already raised in the past. And just a reminder, second quarter taxes are due by May 1st with a grace period through May 11th. And additionally, Crestwood Lake passes will go on sale beginning May 4th. And that's it. Thank you.
And our clerk?
I was going to say
Dottie,
Crestwood
thank you for
Lake.
stepping in.
I was
Sorry.
going to say Crestwood Lake registration opens May 4th. And I'd like to remind all the local government officers who have not filed their disclosure to do so by the 30th.
You haven't?
Sorry, Matt.
Duck your head in shame.
I sent out a reminder today. And I say next year, it says the handy dandy budget newsletter on the budget newsletter. We should make it official. Allendale's handy dandy budget newsletter.
Right, Wes?
I think there are a lot of the things that I've been involved in have been referenced in council reports, but I think we should mention that while reports are a synopsis of things going on, it really doesn't give credence to the amount of time that members of the governing body spend on these items. From the ABAC lease, where a special meeting with Councilman O'Toole and Councilman Delavatio to meet the ABAC and go over the lease and to try to reach finality on that. That's time above and beyond time spent at the meetings. The public safety committee was mentioned that the interview process took place. But that is again a significant number of interview meetings, then followed by meetings of the entire governing body. So I think that while the public gets a synopsis of these events, it really doesn't do justice to the amount of time. And then, of course, I'll call it the big three from my vantage point, affordable housing there, the amount of time that you've been spending in terms of getting the remnants of the plan finalized. And I guess the good news there is that our affordable housing attorney today sent the final order signed by the Fair Share Housing Council to the court. It's merely waiting the judge's signature, so it was filed with the clerk's office. So hopefully that will be the last step in that process. But again, a lot of loose ends just to get that done. There's a lot of time there that you spend on that particular. Councilman Holman mentioned the sewer issue with Saddle River. It's not a singular issue. It's a multi-headed, I don't want to say monster, but it's a multi-headed issue that takes a lot of time, working with the borough engineer, going over schematics, today trying to solve an easement problem. No small item, no small expenditures in time. And, I dare say it's not an unusual thing for us to start the day with a 7 o'clock phone conference or remote meeting. And that may be one of only 2 or 3 that may happen during the course of the day. And then, of course, the water utility, and particularly kudos to Councilman Holman in terms of leading us on that. In order to articulate a position, it's not just that you have to say something. It's making sure that there are bullets in the bed when you fire it. And certainly, it's taken a lot of time by Councilman Holman, by Mayor, in terms of putting together a game plan. And unfortunately for us, we're involved in a very lengthy and complicated process, which I think will extend for some period of time. But it certainly has taken a lot of work. So apart from mentioning participation in these items, I think it just bears, again, accentuating that this is a lot of time above and beyond my governing body members to get it stuff.
And I'll just get my report real quickly. First, Dottie, I just want to say thank you for stepping up. Unfortunately, Linda had a family emergency and our prayers are with her. So we really appreciate you being a team player and stepping in for today.
Anytime.
Congratulations to Jamie Hogardner. So we look forward to kicking off the next week or so with the finalization of that process. I was working with the parade committee again and actually out talking to all the merchants. We're really trying to promote a fun parade for the event on September 19th. The borough is going to be having a parade that is going to lead into the Holiday Observer 250-year event, which is going to have lots of vendors, but they're going to have reenactments. There's going to be a horse and carriage. There's going to be music and food. So it's sure to be like one of the most fabulous days in Holiday. We talked about the fields, how great they look, but I just wanted to also mention we received another grant that we put in for $45,000 for the new batting cages that we'll be putting in maybe at the end of this year. I had a nice day with Allendale resident and Grandma Post student Emily Tesla. We actually started at a 7:30 a.m. mayor's meeting, and she was happy to attend. With a very interesting speaker from the Stevens Institute talking about how they were going to try to put sensors somehow in the brooks to be able to anticipate when there's going to be a big flood. So it was actually a very interesting speaker. And then we went to the chamber, we went to Borough Hall, she did an interview. So thank you for everybody for keeping her busy at Borough Hall. So it was a great day. And lastly, proceeding with another grant, I've been working on it pretty much the entire week regarding an acquisition. So we're not really ready to talk to the public yet about that, but we will keep everybody informed as we get to that. And with that, does anybody have any business or old business? All right, I would like to open up the meeting to the public for any items.
in Hamilton. But, but I have the ability to find out specifically how they're going to do that tennis court construction.
So we are actually having our first meeting on Friday. This Friday? We have it coming up. We have a first meeting coming up where we're going to look at the whole space. So we have some engineering problems there that we are gonna have to deal with. There's a lot of flooding. So we have to examine that first. And then we're trying to look at it as a whole instead of necessarily kitchening, holding, you know, the new courts in the footprint that we have now with the fence. We're gonna pretend like there's nothing there and then see if does it work better at a different angle. But a lot of it does have to do with the environmental and the engineering report. So when we get to that left point where we have a conceptual drawing, we'll certainly let you know.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And number two, you mentioned regarding the, if we had one person you have over here, do you have any authority in determining all the work that's been done or will be done?
When it comes to emergency repairs, absolutely. I mean, in this particular case that you brought to our attention, I reached out to the superintendent. He reached out to Veolia. I mean, they are responsible to repair the road when they open it. If something like that happens, we get a sinkhole, we had some frozen dirt, whatever the case was, they are responsible to come back and actually make it right. But yes,
Yeah, but do we have any say in that matter?
as far as how they do their work.
If they consider what they did as being quality work, far from the job.
Well, typically that kind of argument really doesn't happen. If it's sunk, it's sunk. And it's pretty evident that they usually fix it.
And I mean, I'm just gonna say, I think that they are certainly trying to repair in kind as best as they can. Sometimes when these emergencies occur, there's been a tremendous amount of water discharged. And so things can, in the essence of getting the roads open, I'm sure it can be challenging, and they are held to repair. So I think that's, I would say they're not trying to get away with, not good quality.
Does Andy have any say in the matter?
They just, yeah,
I mean, he doesn't have a say with how they're doing the work, but he absolutely has a say when they're done. If it's sunk, depressed, or if it's a hazard when they leave it, yes, you can tell them to
And
come
he
back and
has,
fix it.
actually, he has many times.
But there's been so many repairs, Walter, it's just a matter of, and to what Councilwoman Holman said, it's not that Veolia isn't trying to address those. I think there's just been so many. They're trying to keep everything active and going, and as we bring it to their attention, they come back and reevaluate. So it's just a matter, it's like a hit and run kind of thing. But they've been pretty good about trying to do what's right.
I hope
Yeah.
so. A third question, the gentleman who gave his report, who is he?
He's an accountant from our accounting agency.
Do we
Auditor.
employ him?
No, well, he's a vendor. He's not an employee, he's a vendor.
There are auditors,
Our auditors.
so it's a professional service that they do.
So we have to do a lot of reporting to the state and stuff, so we have an auditor come in and we work with them and make sure that filings and stuff in the state, so. We've had this company, I think, for about 10 years now.
Yeah,
They make sure we don't have any potholes.
in our budget.
Financial.
Yes.
And thank you also for filling up with.
You're the best, Walter, thank you. Anybody else from the public?
My name is Joe. I live at 62 Chestnut Street. I want to commend you on your financial report. That's
You don't forget to take a newsletter.
Can you speak into the microphone, please? Thank you.
I think you ought to probably publicize this. Where it had occurred. Hard to think of to praise the fact that Wilson just say. I want to remind, I'm here to remind, give you a warning party, Chestnut Street. there are two new adaptive plates constructed by the county that face one another on Franklin Turnpike. However, they are not linked with the painted crosswalk. Children walking at times, sometimes with bikes, like walkers. Maybe you're walking with the children, a lot of people coming from other parts of Allendale, joggers. Adults station themselves at these places because the place is supposed to be a safe area to be able to make really cross from one part of the street to the other. County was painting Allendale streets last year, if I'm not mistaken. This was the only section not painted because someone said it's not a bus stop. What a stupid reason for not painting safety crosswalk where the county set up the walks to make sure that they connect. So there is not a crosswalk south of Orchard Street. Not one. I'm only asking. There are 7 to 11 crosswalks north of Orchard Street, maybe one bus stop. Maybe. There have been, I think, close to an accident. There was an accident in November at that intersection. Also, the white safe walk area. And I'm sure you've gone for a walk, you try to stay within that white area where you're able to walk. On Chestnut Street, it stops well before, that white line stops well before Arrowport. So before Arrowport, all the way up to Franklin Turnpike, where the people make the right-hand turn to come off Franklin Turnpike, they could theoretically, in theory, they could hit someone that's walking around that corner. These paintings are, and it's all it is painting, is to help not only the pedestrian, but the drivers to avoid any accident. As a taxpayer over the years, $587,000 should not be the voice that brings this safety issue to you. This is part of the town, this is a part of town that should be treated equally to the other parts of the town. Only paint is needed. That's all it is. I'm not asking for any other kind of improvement. And I think that if you go over into that area, and if you just park yourself at that airport section, you'll see how important it is. But more than anything, is that the county has already established those. There are no other adaptive plates that are not connected. Thank you very much. I hope you can take action.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak? Not seeing anybody? All in favor to adjourn?
You have to,
I'm sorry. I forgot, we're having a closed session. So motion to go into closed session.
So move.
Second, please. Oh, my.
I guess we could say for the record that when the council comes out of closed session, it'll solely be for the purpose of adjournment.
Yes.
Correct.
All right, I'm sorry, Walter, we have to ask you to leave because we are in closed session.
I'll do the roll call. Councilman O'Connell,
Yes,
Yes.
Councilman O'Toole.
Here.
Or the vote for the closed session?
Yeah.
Okay. Councilwoman Homan,
yes.
Councilman Delavatio,
Yes.
Councilman Yakarino,
Yes.